Okay, so we're talking about marketing, right? And what's the root word of marketing? It is market, right? So everyone knows about marketing. We're all consumers, right? And I think you know a lot about marketing and advertising to consumers. But really, there are 4 key markets that you need to be aware of and that you should know something about, okay? So B2C, right? Business to consumer marketing. It's the most well-known. We'll get into some details on that. Very, very important. Everyone's a consumer. And if you work in the industry or want to, you need to understand about B2C marketing. But it's really only one of 4 that you need to be familiar with, okay? Another one is government, okay? Government marketing is big. Government is a huge customer, and it isn't one government, right? It's the US federal government, if you're in the United States. It's state government, local government, foreign governments. And there's a lot of different things that you need to consider if you're going to be marketing and selling to a government, okay? And again, state, local, federal, foreign governments, lots of different things there. And you also have NGOs, non-governmental organizations, which are kind of quasi-government and act very similar. Another is nonprofit, okay? So nonprofits, this is from the perspective of if you are a nonprofit, right? Nonprofit marketing is important because nonprofits need things too, right? They're not necessarily selling a product, although sometimes they are, but nonprofits are often trying to recruit new members. They're trying to get donors, right? So that's a very specialized kind of marketing that you need to consider if you're looking at a career in it. If you work for a nonprofit and you need to up your membership, you want to up your donations, you really should get people that have some specialization and some experience in nonprofit marketing because it's different. The buying process is different, the buying journey is different, just as it's different in government, just as it's different in B2C. Okay, so what's the 4th? I said there was 4. Number 4 is B2B, okay? Business to business marketing. This is when businesses are marketing and selling to other businesses, right? Very, very big part of the market. Very important sector, very often overlooked sector as far as what is taught in schools, even in graduate programs, even in graduate business and marketing programs. Really most schools and people, they defer to B2C versus B2B. So let's talk about a few of the key differences. There are some things that are the same, right? One of the key things that is the same is awareness, right? So we're talking about metrics. You want to know, is my target audience aware that I exist as a vendor, that I have a product to sell? Do they know I exist? Do they know what I have to sell? Do they know about the product, okay? Very important. What typically goes along with awareness on the consumer side is reputation, okay? What you'll also hear is NPS, okay? Net Promoter Score. So that's basically, that's a survey, a set of surveys that are done where your target audience is asked, you know, essentially, would you recommend this product to a peer, to someone like yourself? Would you get behind it? Would you do that, okay? Awareness and reputation, Net Promoter Score. Great metrics for business to consumer marketing. In B2B, awareness still matters, especially among your target audience, but is it so much about NPS? Is it looking for a 90% NPS score, Net Promoter Score, right? Well, in B2B, what's a little more important, in addition to awareness, is credibility, right? Credibility, you could also say preference, okay? So how is that different, right? Well, credibility or preference, what's important there is it's not someone saying, oh, I love this product and I would recommend it to someone else, but they're saying, hey, are they a credible vendor? Are they relevant? Are they preferable to the other options, right? So that's one of the big differences between B2C and B2B is that in many cases in B2B, it's not like you have a lot of choices. And in many cases, you have to buy something, right? If you're the buyer, your company, your organization needs something, right? So it's really, I hate to say it, but are you preferable to the other options? In some cases, unfortunately, it means are you less crappy than the other options? Do people consider that your product, your company is less bad? I mean, think about some of the companies you have to deal with And some of the products you sort of have to buy. And I don't know too many people who say they love Microsoft or that they love their cable company or their cellular provider, right? So, but are they credible? Do you prefer them to the other alternatives? Okay, so those are some key differences right there. All right, what else is different, right? Well, B2C, how fast do you buy? Right? You often buy on impulse, right? Ooh, I like that. I see it. I want it. I'm going to buy it. You buy it. Done. B2B, it's often budgeted. Right? A budget is made. There's a line item in the budget to buy a particular kind of product or even a product, right? Very, very different. Very, very different there. What goes hand in hand with that is, this is about heart and this is about head, right? You hear about, share of heart. Are people emotionally, it's like, oh, I really want that. There's an emotional reaction. Here, it's done with head, right? It's about logic, right? Is this logical to buy this? Does my organization need this? Is this a good decision, right? Because if you make a bad decision, you could end up losing your job, right? Which would make this. You don't want that, right? So it's about heart versus head, right? A very big difference. And when you market, you have to consider that, right? There's some very different things there. All right. Another thing is who buys, right? Who's the buyer? Well, here, right, it's you or it's whoever the consumer is, right? In B2B, it's not one person typically making the decision, right? There's a lot of people involved, right? Team buying, right? You might have the key person whose department or whatnot needs the product or service, but then they've got, okay, who's their expert that's actually going to be using it day to day, right? They get to weigh in on it. How about the main person's boss, right? They're going to want to know because maybe they own the budget. And then someone higher up probably also have to approve it, right? So you've got a team that's going to make a buying decision. Therefore, when you market, you have to market to that entire team because they likely all have to agree and say yes. Over here, you just got to get one person to say yes. One person to use their heart, make that impulse buy because, wow, they think this is great, or one person recommended it. Very different on the B2B side, okay? So before we wrap up on the differences here, one more that I'll say is, what are the key stuff you can do here to try to generate, right? What are some key things involved? Well, one thing here is you can do offers, right? Coupons, right? B2B, not so much, Here it's much more about, before they buy, what's going to get them to buy is often knowledge, right? Knowledge content, right? Get them smarter about the topic, about the product, about the category, right? Knowledge content versus offers and deals and whatnot, all right? And then finally, the last thing I'll say is, and we've been sort of alluding to this, is we're talking about, relatively risk-averse buyers, right? Because they don't want to be sad and lose their job. Over here, it's people that are much more on impulse, right? So there's something that's much more of a factor here in B2B, right? And it's aligned with credibility and preference. It's aligned with using your head. It's aligned with there being a team involved, and it's aligned with knowledge, right? And you need to understand this, right? So these three letters, CYA, okay? What it means is the buyer or the team of buyers often have to consider, look, I need to cover my ass. I need to cover my boss's ass. I can't make a bad decision because it'll come back and it could haunt me. I could lose my job. We could all lose our jobs, right? So in B2B, that's relevant. You wish it wasn't, but it often is, right? These are typically risk-averse buyers, and they need to consider the fact that they need to do a little CYA to protect themselves, protect their organization, and protect their overall business and jobs. So that's the big four. Government buying actually follows B2B quite closely. Nonprofit has elements of both, but that's the big four, and we look forward to speaking to you next time.